To write a good object-oriented code, you mustn't allow your users to make mistakes. So today, you will learn very easy methods known as getters, setters, and deleters that will make your code mistake-proof. Not only that, you will also learn how Python makes getters, setters, and deleters even more powerful with properties. Hello coders, welcome to my channel. I'm David, your guide to mastering programming. First, I'll create a class for numbers, and I will call it number. Then I will create an initializer that will initialize my instance attribute self.num to be equal to 0. But I don't want this num to be accessed outside of this class, so I will put a simple underscore here. Next, I will create a getter. A getter is a function that returns some instance attribute. For example, I'll name mine simply getter, and it will have just the instance itself as a parameter, and it will return my self dot underscore num. Next, I will create a setter. A setter is a function that sets a value for some instance attribute. For example, def setter, and it usually has one or maybe even more parameters. I will name mine value, and now myself dot underscore num will have that value. And the last one is the deleter, which is used to delete the instance. Def, the instance attribute. I'm telling you that these are instance attributes, but they don't really have to be an instance attributes. They can also be class attributes. Deleter, and then self del self underscore num. This will delete this instance attribute. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Thanks for your support. Now I will create a simple instance n, and if I want to get this underscore num, I can print n dot getter. This will get me this num. As you can see, it prints 0. But if I want to set some value for this n, I can write n.setter and pass some value, for example, 3. And now I can print again the value of num by using my getter. As you can see, now 3 is printed. And I can also delete the num instance attribute. Now if I print n dot getter, it returns error. Number object has no attribute num, because with this deleter we destroyed it. You're probably wondering, why would you use setter to set some value or getter to get the value when you can simply write this print n dot num, and you will still get the value. As you can see, 0 is printed, and you can write n underscore num and give the value 3 and then print n dot underscore num. As you can see, 3. Well, with this, you force your user to know exactly what type this num is. Maybe if he writes here, for example, I don't know, subscribe, then this code may crash if you use this num for some operation with division or, I don't know, mod or something like that. So when you have a code like this, you don't have a way to stop the user from making this mistake, or telling him that this is a mistake and that he should enter the value again. That's why we use setters and getters. Here, I can prevent that with simply writing if. First, I need to convert this value to string if it's not, and check if it's digit by using this function, is digit. This checks if this value is a digit. If it is, then I want this. If it's not, Then I want print this is not a number and exclamation mark. Now, if I use setter to set my value to this n, print n dot getter and n dot setter, and here pass, for example, 3, and print n dot getter. Now when I run, it works like before, but if I run, for example, here like, this tells you this is not a number. I hope you now understand why getters and setters are very important in object-oriented programming. Also, getters and setters, as well as the public, protected, or private attributes, are part of the important object-oriented programming concept called encapsulation. Encapsulation is hiding the internal details of an object and only showing what's necessary. Now that I've shown you how getters and setters work, now I want to show you how Python made them even more powerful. You need to call the getter and setter method if you want to get some value for some attribute like this as a function, and this code can start to look ugly with calling so many functions to operate on some values, on some attributes, I mean. But Python has a powerful feature where you can still use the functionalities of getters and setters while using the attribute syntax, which will result in cleaner code. That feature is called property. There are three ways of creating properties, and the last one is the most powerful and the most popular one. So stick until the end to learn everything you need to know about properties in Python. First, if I want to create some property, I need to write here. For example, I'll name it num, and it should be equal to property keyword. Property keyword has three arguments: f.get. This will get the getter function. So here I should pass my getter. Next is f.set, and this should get the setter function. Setter, and the next one should be fdel, which should get the deleter. Now you can use num to access the value of this number by simply writing, for example, here print n.num. Now when you run this code, as you can see, 0 is printed. Also, now if I want to get to set some value for my number, I can write n.num and then equal, for example, 3, and here print n.num. As you can see, now it prints 3. Also, here if I write like before, like, it should print this is not a number. As you can see, it prints this is not a number. All the functionalities remain as before, but the code looks cleaner and this is more friendly. I mean, more user friendly. This is the first method. The second method is by simply writing the getters and setters using decorators. For example, here I can remove this, and here I can create my num to be equal to property. But now you shouldn't pass any. The default values for fget, fdel, and fset is none. Here you should write how you write a regular decorator at the rate sign, and now write the name of your property, num, dot, and then write what you want. As you can see, there are these three options. For example, I want my getter to be getter. Important thing, it's very important that you name this the same as your property name. Here should be num. Now here you should write num.setter. This setter should also have the same name as your property name, num, as you can see. And this deleter, it's the same story. At the rate sign, num.deleter, and then here write the name of your property, num. Now when I run this code, it should work the same. As you can see, it works the same as before. And the last one and the most popular one is to omit this, and you can omit this and write here property. By default, this is a getter, but every other should always have the name of the property, dot, and then what type it is, setter or deleter. Now when I run this code, it works as before. But there is a catch. You don't always have to have all of them, deleter, setter, and getter. For example, if you just want to have the setter, in that case, you can't simply remove this and say, now I want this third method of creating property. No, now you must write here num equals property and then write this. And this will work. This I will have to write here because I don't have. This is not a clean code, but I just want to show you how it works. As you can see, it works as before. So this most popular method has a catch. You can use it only if you have a getter. For example, if you have a getter, this at the rate sign property will automatically know that the next function is getter. But if you want, for example, to remove this deleter, you can, and this will still work. But if you want to have just setter or setter plus deleter and don't have the getter, in that case, you have to use the second method. I hope you found this video helpful. Like and subscribe for more coding content. See you in my next video. Until then, keep coding.